All right, I'm Julius Sandy. Met Briah Christia. I want to say she was first going into ninth grade. Really interested. Heard about her game from a close friend of mine, and I really liked how she played. So I'm excited for the opportunity to kind of sit here with you. Before I go any further, Briah, let the people know who you are.
Well, I'm Briah Christia. Basketball has been a staple in my life for a very long time. Since I was in about second grade is when I really started to take it seriously. And now just sitting here, just being able to really close that chapter is important for me.
Wow, I mean, I know we're here to close the chapter, but how did this all, you said second grade, how did you start really playing basketball? Like what really got you interested in?
Okay, so when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in my grandmother's neighborhood.
Okay.
And I have an older brother, and my mom has about 4 or 5 brothers.
Okay.
So my goal was to always just keep up with my brother. So my brother would always be outside with his uncles, and I would want to follow my brother. So really, the first sport that I was introduced to wasn't really basketball, it was really football.
Okay.
Because most of my uncles played football, so it wasn't until like somebody in my grandmother's neighborhood got a basketball hoop.
Yeah.
And we kind of were in between football, kickball, basketball, just all day playing outside.
Athlete.
Exactly. So basketball is just a thing that I was interested in, and I was just better than everybody.
Okay.
You know, playing, I was better than everybody, more athletic, I was smarter, and it was just something about it that I just fell in love with.
Okay, what brings me to why are we really here? I know you talked about, but I want you to tell people why are we really sitting here at this moment.
Well, just to talk about the journey. It's an interesting one. And people will look at my accomplishments and all that I've done and say, well, there's no reason why she shouldn't be playing college basketball, but there's a reason for it. There are reasons, I would say reasons for it, more than one. And it was just something a decision that I made was tough, but I'm at peace with it.
As you speak about that buzz, when I first heard about you as coming out of middle school, and I don't know if I heard, but then I kind of saw clips too. From the moment I saw a first clip of you play, I was like, this girl right here got it.
Hey there, I'm Coach Greg Prather. I'm an assistant girls basketball coach with Dillard High School. When I joined the program in 2016, Briah was only a freshman. And ever since my first meeting with Briah, I was always impressed with her phenomenal abilities and her talents on and off the court. She reached for the stars and she reached them in her classrooms, and I'm so proud of her accomplishments. Briah, I love you. Keep reaching for the stars. Keep fighting hard. Go forth unafraid. Coach P out.
So what type of players were you playing with at the time? What type of showcases, what type of events were you guys playing in? At that level as a middle schooler, that kind of was like, in your mind, made you feel like, maybe I can do something with this?
So when I was in around 5th, 6th grade, I was actually playing with a team, Florida Flash, that was really, we played here, we played Orlando, that area, but around 6th grade, I got invited to go to a nationals with a team out of Briah County.
Okay.
And I knew that if I wanted to really get the exposure that I needed to go with a team that was going to get me the exposure. So that's when I went to team breakdown.
Okay.
And that's when I had the most fun. Those are some of my closest friends now today, some of my favorite teammates. And that's when I picked up my first college interest, really.
Okay. You mentioned team breakdown, a very storied travel program, and not just only in South Florida. How did they help you become the player that you are today leading into? And we'll even talk about your high school experience, because I know that one is, huge. How did Team Breakdown contribute to all of that?
Well, it started with Coach Ben Bridges. He was after me since I was about 12 and about 5th grade, something like that.
Hi, this is Coach Ben here in the gym doing what I do best. I had the opportunity to coach one of the most amazing women's basketball players that South Florida has ever seen. My experience in coaching Bree was nothing more than fantastic. She was a coach's player, she worked hard, and I loved it because she always played with a chip on her shoulder, okay? Even when the odds were stacked against her, I mean, we would play teams, they would trap, they would press her, and man, she would push through the press, she would make her teammates so much better. She shared the basketball. I wish she would have scored it a little bit more. She was just a little too unselfish at times because her ability to score the basketball was just flat out amazing. But her will to work, her will to grind and get better and make the ones around her better was just pure amazing. So Bree, Coach Ben loves you and thank you. God bless.
He believed in my abilities.
Okay.
I mean, the way that I could score the basketball, the way that I could lead and help my teammates, he believed in me. And he gave me an opportunity to really just be me.
Yeah.
And that was it. I mean, then around, I would say 8th grade, Coach Ben, he switched back to the boys' side of basketball, and Coach Pat was coaching us.
Okay.
Coach Pat Gahardo. And again, he was an extension of Coach Ben. Again, allowed me to be me. So I think, my time in middle school, I was just allowed to be myself.
Let's talk colleges. Okay? Let's talk colleges here. So going into after your sophomore season, after finishing your junior year, how did the college picture look for you? First talk about what travel team did you end up playing for, and then the reason why you played for that team, and what did the college picture look like?
Well, going into my 11th grade summer, I had a lot of interests. I ended up going to play for Boca Thunder.
Okay.
And I thought that it was a great opportunity for me because it complemented who I was as a player. I'm a player who likes to get to the basket. I'm a player that likes to be surrounded by shooters.
Okay.
So I think it complemented my game a lot. And being able to just play a drive and kick game or a pick and roll game or anything like that. But the college picture for me at that time, at the start of that summer, it was just interest for me, and I went into that summer with the mindset of just be who you are.
True.
And that was it for me.
So, what were some of the interests that you had, though?
App State, Georgia Southern, Air Force Academy, FIU, FAU.
Okay.
It's a lot.
I know. Being a great player that you ended up being, and the fact that it was only interest in me kind of baffles me, but that's for another day. So, with all of that success, with all of that focus in middle school, how, going into high school, give us a little bit, tell us about that. How did you end up making, choosing a high school? How did you end up making your high school decision? Where you were going to go? What kind of contributed to that? Give us a little bit about that.
At the beginning of high school and going into high school, I was everywhere with my decision. It kind of felt like I was making a college decision at that point. I was going to Calvary Christian, I was going to Northeast, Fort Lauderdale, I was going everywhere. But for me, it came down to one thing, and it came down to winning. And that's all that mattered to me at that point, and I knew going to Dillard, I would win. And that's all that mattered to me, the accolades or any of that stuff, it didn't matter.
Choosing Dillard based on obviously the tradition of excellence and winning and those type of things. Were there ever a time while in high school, via 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, overall, did you face any type of adversity as it relates to basketball or academically?
Well, academically, I was talking like that's one area in my life that I'll never allow myself to slack off in.
Love it.
Because I mean, my mom always preaching you didn't do well in school, there was no basketball.
By the way, your mom is a teacher though.
Exactly. So that made
no choice.
yeah. But as far as basketball goes, going into 9th grade and playing for Dillard my 9th grade year, I came in and I was the starting point guard at Dillard for 4 years. And I didn't expect to be a starter in 9th grade, but I just worked my tail off. I know I can do it, but I just worked my tail off. And then my 9th grade year, I think that was one of my worst years ever. I turned over the ball a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, but I was young, so I had to be okay with that. But my 9th grade summer, I got hurt. I was in a cast. I didn't play that whole summer. So that's one summer I lost. Now, going into high school, that was probably the first time that I actually faced adversity from a basketball standpoint. Going into my 10th grade year, I had a better high school year. Going to a Big 8 and losing in the Big 8, of course, but going to states, losing in states. So, I mean, that year was okay, but I knew that I could be a lot better for the teams that I was playing for. My 10th grade summer, I was from team to team because.
But that's normally sorry to cut you off, but that's normally when you start thinking, as far as colleges is concerned, you're thinking like, okay, I gotta now if I'm gonna make a decision, this is the time to make it. Now, just to touch on, just from a coaching standpoint, as a 9th grader starting on the varsity level, that was a great thing for you. The adversity you faced, that was a normal one, by the way. Turning the ball over and all that's normal. So I'm happy to hear, though, by your 10th grade year, you kind of learned from that. What are some things as far as from your 9th grade year, your 10th grade year, going to switching from teams to teams, trying to figure out what team you're going to play on, how did that help you focus going into your 11th grade season and your senior year?
I knew that college opportunities were on the line. And if I wanted to play college basketball, it came down to one thing, and that's performing. So, my 11th grade year, I think that, first and foremost, going to Dillard and playing for Ms. Pender put me in the position to recognize other things that I can do as a basketball player, like being a facilitator, being a great leader, being able to run a team. I wouldn't necessarily say that I always wanted to play that role, but it was best for me. And it was best for the team, and that's all that mattered to me, which was winning and doing what was best for our unit. So being a great leader was really what prepared me to be a great leader.
You actually answered my next question I was going to ask you. What has going to Dillard and the coaching staff taught you?
Well, I would say, okay, so as far as basketball goes, it has to be just being in tune with other parts of my game. But most things that I've learned going to Dillard and that coaching staff has nothing to do with basketball. And I think that's what makes Miss Pender so great, is that she teaches life.
Life lessons.
She teaches life. And I think that's why she's had such a great impact on my life, not only when I was playing for her, but even now, today, things that I took with me, such as integrity, having confidence, being a leader, honesty, how to treat people. So that coaching staff has been nothing short of great to me and my family.
Family. That's what I'm hearing, family. And I'm actually glad to hear that because I think most young people your age, they miss the big picture. Okay, they get stuck they have that tunnel vision. They think basketball, college, oh, I want to go play professionally. But I'm glad to hear that Coach Pender, the staff at Dillard, actually taught you more than just basketball, and that's what it's all about. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me about that experience. As I see you actually committed to them, how did that go about?
So I think we were at a tournament in Atlanta. And it wasn't until after we came back from Atlanta that I actually heard from them. And it was from the recruiting coordinator. And I went on an unofficial visit because, as far as my college choice, I wanted to be close to home. I didn't want to be too far. So I thought Georgia was the perfect destination.
Sure.
So I was interested. I went on an unofficial visit, and going into July, that's the offer I wanted. Because I knew, if I got that offer, that's where I was going.
Tell us what transpired after the offer.
So the day.
And I know you were excited, by the way.
Yeah, probably one of the better days of my life. I got the offer, I got the call, and it was actually the day after the live period. I think it was July 13th. I got the offer. They were the first school that called me. So they were like, we want you to come play for us. I'm like, yeah, because if that's the offer I got, that's what I wanted.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what happened. That's what I wanted, and that's what happened.
I know you've made a decision to kind of, and it saddens me, by the way. It saddens me. But it comes a point in time in one's life you gotta kind of go with where you're gonna be needed and what your calling is.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier, obviously you're a high academic kid, you have a good brain, a good head on your shoulder, very mature young lady. Tell us as to why you've come to this point where you are gonna somewhat just, not so much stop playing basketball per se, but kind of, you're gonna take a break. Why are you gonna take a break? Talk to us.
Actually, I'm not opposed to actually playing at some point again, but for me, as we talked about before, as you get older, the game gets more political. And once politics were involved, my reasons for playing began to change. And once they began to change, I was done. So, the reasons I started playing, being competitive, having fun, and being able to have good times around teammates and all those good things, my reasons began to change, and my reasons became having to please other people or having to prove something to other people. And that's not why I started. So once my reasons began to change, I was done.
If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently or similar?
Actually, I would do nothing different. I would do everything the exact same. And I say that because the position I'm in, it's obvious. That's exactly where God wants me to be at the end of the day. So I wouldn't do anything differently. I would do everything the same exact way. Of course, there are some never agains and things you learn from, but I would do things the exact same way.
Okay. Well, Briah, it's been nice talking to you. It's a pleasure. It was a great opportunity for me to get to be a part of this moment with you. It means a lot to me. If I tell you in words, it would be here for years. And I'm very, very excited for the path that you are headed in. And I want you to know that great things are going to happen for you. basketball is just a small piece of the puzzle. So keep your head high, keep striving to be great. Utilize your support system, utilize your mental and what you've learned, your experiences, what you've learned and gone through to kind of lead you. Just always know I'm always here for you. Your parents, your mom, your brother are always here for you. And you have a good, a nice village. All right, so utilize that wisely. Okay? So it's a pleasure. Love you. Much love always. All right, good job.